Yeah, episode 4 is
Already.
this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Toxic behaviors and triggers. Basically picking where we left I can't even talk right now. Picking up where we left off last week.
Yes, sir. So,
Yeah.
let's go into it. I'm ready. I stay ready. Um, I guess just like kind of like a backstory where this topic came from is really just because it's something that we all go through, I feel like, especially at least in my group of friends, like
Mm-hmm.
relationships or a really big conversation just consistently. Um, mhm. Uh,
What's up, Super Jacobo?
yeah, whatever. He's only here so I don't get mad at him. Um, yeah, so I mean, relationships are a big topic amongst my friend group, especially even on social media. It's like, oh my God, that person was so toxic, and we throw that around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the kids I work with are obviously, they're teenagers, they're in middle school, high school, so they're really starting to learn about toxicity and all of that, but they're not yet at the place where they can figure out what their own toxic behaviors are. So it's just really interesting trying to teach them about it.
Yeah.
um, and we do a lot of discussion about triggers, especially at work, because that's the age where we really start to recognize that things like triggers start to change our mood. um, when we're kind of at that age, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially like irritable teenagers. But really, it's deeper than that. So I thought it would be cool to do an episode on this and kind of dive into that and how we find those things out and why it's important. Which one should we start with?
Um, I think toxic behaviors first, because then triggers could explain it afterwards,
Okay.
or vice
Do
versa. I don't
do
know. That's a good question.
Let's
That's a
just
really
we'll
good
just do
question.
toxic behaviors first.
Okay.
We're gonna roll with it. That was your answer first. That's what we're going with. Do you have any thoughts before the Queen of Rants begins the ranting?
Any thoughts on toxic behaviors?
Yeah, just in
Mm.
general.
When we touched base on it last week, I was saying it in reference of kind of like cycles. I find myself doing the same thing over and over again and
Okay.
treating people a certain way, but that behavior could also be detrimental to yourself, not necessarily to other people.
True.
I think it affects myself more so than. Thanks for the follow, Super Jacobo. Um, I think my toxic behaviors affect myself more than other people. Um, I am my worst enemy. So, um, yeah, just to sprinkle that in from last week. That's all I got to say. Yeah, just a double take on that one.
So, ow.
But yeah, go ahead,
um,
take the floor.
Woo. So no, that's actually really interesting because when you think about toxic behaviors, you think about how you're being toxic to yourself, which is very interesting. I
Hmm.
like it because when I think of toxic behaviors, I think of how people are toxic in relationships. So that's kind of cool that, even the same concept, it can trigger, vocab word, um, different responses within us. Um, so for me, the journey with toxicity has, for me, been something I've learned through relationships. And I guess what I wanted to focus on is kind of flipping the script. There's a lot of focus on how other people are toxic to us and
Hmm.
for us, and especially after like a breakup or you lose a friend or you get into it with a family member, it's like so easy to dismiss the actual issue and be like, oh my God, they're so toxic. Like,
Yeah,
let me just blame it on you real quick so I don't have to address what's going on for me.
yeah, I think that's a little
And
bit of like a coping mechanism for some people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great defense mechanism. Like, I can't face myself right now, so I'm just going to dump it on that person.
Mm,
And the way that, obviously, we all do it, we all have toxic behaviors. Not because we're trying to be hurtful to each other, but because we're all on our own journey and we're just humans. Like, we're all a mess, especially as we're growing up. When we're younger, like, we don't know what the heck we're doing. We're just trying to
yeah.
figure it out like everybody else, and sometimes we're garbage and sometimes we're not. It's just, but it's okay, it's not a bad thing. I think the important part is learning what your patterns are and then changing them, like choosing to be different.
Yeah.
um where this came, the biggest change for me came from my relationships. Like, after each breakup, my exes would kind of say the same thing. Like, granted, they weren't the best people in the world, but I think it takes some humility and even a kind of level of self-confidence to really stop and say, you know what, if I've heard this a couple of times, maybe there's some truth to it.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're biased because they're mad at me or because we broke up or whatever.
Mm,
Um, but if it's across like different people, there has to be some truth. So I had to look at the things that I was hearing more consistently at the end of relationships and even in some of my friendships. And I had to really sit with myself and say, okay, some of this is true, obviously, or everybody wouldn't be saying it. So where do I feel like this is true? How do I feel like this does apply to me? Um, I'm trying to think of an example. I don't really struggle with those same things anymore, but I guess the biggest one for me was people saying that I try to control everything. And you know that too. Heyo.
yep.
And part of it is me. Part of it really is just me feeling like I'm a natural born leader, right? I like to get things done. I like to problem solve. It feels really good to have a plan for me
Hmm.
and to be able to say, hey, this thing I came up with meets everybody's needs and it's easy. Let's just do it this way. But for a long time, I was doing that in excess. I was doing it in a very unhealthy way, and I was doing it in relationship dynamics where I didn't necessarily have the other person's permission to act like that. Now,
Other
down the
person's
line,
permission.
yeah, like some people are okay with like, oh no, just take the lead, whatever, I don't really
Oh,
care.
okay.
And some people are just kind of like, You know what, I'm not really comfortable with this, but you keep doing it anyway."
Mm,
Um, that's what I meant
gotcha.
by like permission.
That makes sense.
It's not a mutual agreement within the relationship dynamic that we're gonna act that I'm gonna act like this. So I had to stop and I was like, okay, something I'm doing is kind of pushing people away from me, and I didn't know if it was on purpose. I didn't know where it was coming from, but obviously it was consistent. And so trying to figure out where to even start was kind of the hardest part. Um, so at first I had to start to realize like, okay, how do I feel when I have this need to take control over a situation? How am I feeling? What are the thoughts that are running through my head? Let's just start there at figuring out what the heck is going on. Because
Hmm.
if you don't know what's causing that, what's triggering it, um, you can't fix it.
Yeah.
That's just a basic rule of most things involving psychology. If you don't know the root, you can't fix it. Um, you can cover it up. You can pretend it's not there, but you're not going to solve the problem long term. So
Facts.
I noticed that I was really anxious in those moments. And this took years to figure out. It was not oh, let me just be mindful for a week and it'll go away. This is years of just observing myself and being willing to have that patience with myself to figure it
Hmm.
out, finding the drive to keep doing it when I got irritated that I would keep acting that way when I didn't want to.
Yeah.
Um, So I just noticed I felt really anxious, and like lo and behold, way down the line, I get diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. Now, back when I'm in these first relationships of mine, obviously I didn't know. Like, my parents didn't talk about this kind of stuff. In fact, they enabled my controlling ways. My entire family, my entire life has enabled my ways to the point where my parents knew, even when I left to college, that in the fridge and in the cabinet and in the freezer, I had my own section where only my stuff went and nobody was allowed to touch it. And if they did, they had to ask first. Like, I was a kid. If my kids ever, I did, I'm eating all their food just to be a dick. Um, but my parents really fed into that. And so I didn't know any better by the time I left their house and went to college. And I'm like a whole ass 18-year-old
Mm-hmm.
still eating food off my friend's plate in the cafeteria. Like, that's just, sorry, guys. Um,
What's up for real? What
so,
is that? A sip of coffee?
so, I mean, it wasn't until I really got control of my anxiety that those controlling habits naturally started to fade out. Obviously, some of them are still there because again, part of it's just me.
Yeah.
I love being a leader. I love taking charge. I feel really good in those roles, so it's not going to like disappear. And being controlling is not always a terrible thing. You just have to find the people that you balance out.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you're with another controlling leader type of person, you're going to have to figure out your dynamic in a healthy way instead of just butting heads all the time. Like, I'm in charge. No, I'm in charge. Well,
Yeah.
forget you. We're doing this. Like, that's not. Um, but yeah, so I mean, it's just been, and still, it's an ongoing process. Like, because we're always learning, because we're always maturing, we're always going to have to be purging some behaviors that aren't good. And we're always going to be running into new toxic behaviors. Like, I haven't been married yet. So when that time comes, I could bump into something I'm doing that's still toxic because I've never been in that situation before and I don't know how to handle the new stressors. So I'm going to have to be very aware, like, is how I'm treating this person good for them? Am I being healthy for them and for myself, like you said? Um, yeah. Any thoughts? Any ways that you feel like you can relate to that, especially with like relationships? And then we'll go into being
Fuck
toxic.
yeah. Anxiety at the most. I want to say like in the beginning of relationships, I'm pretty cool. Like I'm chill. I don't worry about too much because you could see the effort that they put in. Um, but as time goes, it kind of fades away in a sense. But there's never like I don't know. For me, something needs to be said. I don't like assuming things. So once they start like kicking back, like not putting in much effort, it's like okay, we coming out of the cupcake stage of the honeymoon phase, or like are we comfortable now? What's the deal? So then I start tripping like here and there, kind of like is something going on or what's the deal? Like no, everything's cool. That's not the first time I heard that and found out some shit was going on behind my back. You know what I mean? So
Mm,
it kind of starts from there, and then it kind of gets worse as time goes. So with me, the anxiety part in the beginning of the relationship is the worst. Once we get past that part, like I'm not gonna lie, I've had a few relationships to where I was actually comfortable, but that's when I was an asshole and took advantage of those relationships. Um, Now or lately, I should say like the past 5 years or more, the relationships kind of I don't know, they gave me a lot of anxiety. Starting from the first one I got into that was a shit show. Ever since that one, it was just every relationship after that, just I wasn't the same person anymore. It just progressively got worse, and it got to a point to where it was like I'm gonna get into a relationship because things seem good and I want to believe it's good. Um,
mm,
but that's not how you should go about it. So what I learned from that is you can't expect anything from somebody else. Either they're gonna give it to you or they're not. Um, and that took me a while to actually understand. Because to me, it's like if you're in a relationship, there's boundaries, there's shit you need to do. Not everybody
right.
sees things the same way. So um, to me, I'm very traditional. and conservative. Um, Not a lot of people are like that, especially nowadays. Um, so the anxiety part, I'd rather just keep to my damn self. I mean, I could do bad by myself. I mean, I don't need to be in a relationship with someone to make me feel bad. So,
Right.
um, yeah, the anxiety part has been a huge thing when it comes to relationships. And I think that's why a lot of my later ones failed because I was just tripping too much on things. I mean, I wasn't wrong necessarily because there
Right.
was some shit going on, but the fact that I was just on them about it kind of didn't help at all. Not even kind of, it didn't help at all. Um, it didn't go over well. I was tripping all the time. I was always stressing. They seemed fine, but I'm like, how are you fine when I'm tripping? But it's because they had a backup or they had some other plan or something else behind
Mhm.
the scenes that I wasn't aware of. But
Was it like anxiety of the relationship falling apart, or anxiety that they were doing something wrong to
both,
you or trying to hurt you? Oh, okay.
both. Um, because of the relationship, the shit show relationship. I want to say that was
Mhm.
in 2014, 2013, 2014.
Mhm.
Um, that one, I had this notion because the relationship I was in before, whenever we were breaking up, she told me that I need to be consistent because I'll be like 100% in the beginning and then I'll fade to like uh I want to say like 60, 50% as the
Mhm.
relationship goes on. Like I'm there but I'm not really there, but that's just how I am. I prefer my alone time and I want you around when I want you around. Like if I want them damn cuddles, give me them cuddles. Type of deal. So whenever that relationship ended, she was telling me like basically I should be consistent and more considerate. I was like, bet I'll take those words. The next relationship I got into, I applied that to the wrong fucking person, and she took 100%
Mhm.
advantage of me. And
Mhm.
in my mind was like, okay, I mean, we've had a thing for a bit, and you seem like you're into it. And whenever we would hang out, I would literally lose sleep because I would have to work in the morning. I wouldn't go
Mhm.
home till like three o'clock or something in the morning. Go to
Mhm.
sleep, wake up, and then go to work because she didn't want me to leave. She wanted me to hang out. So I was like, I mean, I'm making these sacrifices for you, but you're still doing shit behind my back, and I never understood it. Um,
Right.
at the time, I should have known better, but she had just broken up with her boyfriend at the time. And me and her were kind of talking, seeing where things were going, and they were going that way. So he kept like popping back up into the picture, and it's like, okay, I mean, if I show her that I'm a better man, of course she's gonna make the right decision. Nah, nah. She was juggling both of us. I didn't really find out until later on, and it came to an ultimatum. She chose, um, and then it still didn't turn out great. There was still some shit going on, so it just got to a point where I was like, I can't. And that's when I finally got my head out of my ass and was like, all this time I wasted for nothing. I was just being naive, believing
Mhm.
that it could be something great. Even though we're going through all this shit, it could still be something great. Like, no,
Mhm.
that's just how she was, and there was no changing it. That's why you
Is
can't
this
set expectations for people. So, um,
was this
yeah,
my favorite girl?
huh?
Was this my favorite girl?
Yeah, the one you heard a lot about.
Mm. Mm. I
Yeah, you
was
heard
gonna
a
say
lot about
something
that
so
shit.
not cool right now. I'm just, but I think that's important. I think what you just mentioned is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Two things, and we kind of talked about this last time. Number one, this idea that men have to put in all this extra effort at first, and then they lay back, and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, "Okay, now I'm gonna be myself." And look, I'm not gonna speak for my whole gender. I personally hate that. I hate it. In fact, it's gotten to the point where when I go on dates and stuff, I tell them, do not do anything for me that you don't plan on maintaining.
Yeah.
I do not want to get used to a relationship And I think that's a toxic behavior, but I think it is like a societal thing. I don't think like every man ever does it and all men are toxic. I think society is like we have this sort of underlying expectation that men have to compete for the girl that they want to be with, which again is another toxic belief.
Quick
Yes, sir.
sidebar. I mean, when you think about mammals and animals in general, there's always a courtship type of deal where the male
I'm
has
not
to
saying
impress the
don't do
female.
that.
Huh?
Duh. I said I'm not saying don't do that. But I mean, my issue with it is that it shouldn't be so far out of your character
Mm,
that it's like two different people within the span of 4 months.
yeah.
It like, yeah, okay, do a little extra, do that extra nice stuff here and there, and then as you start to relax a little more naturally, it shouldn't be like whiplash.
Mm,
Like we went on trips every single weekend, we went on dates every weekend, and we went to dinner all the time, and now we don't do it anything for like 3 months. Like, just,
well, the
I
best thing I
hate
could
it.
say as far as that goes is at least the last relationship I was in, it didn't last that long. I want to say it was probably, it started in December. I knew something was wrong when she forgot my fucking birthday. But it started in December, and then we went up until I want to say the 1st of February. So it did not last long. Um, I took her out on one date. That was the initial date,
Mhm.
to where I said what I said, and she was feeling it, and we were just kind of like, we're gonna take it from here.
Mhm.
Um, and then after that, it was just kind of like we didn't really do much. I mean, she
Mhm.
had the baby. She had some errands. I'd go with her. We'd go run them.
Mhm.
Um, and we didn't really go anywhere because the kid. I mean, we always had to leave the kid with her parents. The
Mhm.
dad wasn't in the picture, so it was like,
Mhm.
how are we supposed to make time for ourselves? The baby's always here,
Right,
and she never
right,
really liked being away from the baby either. So it just kind of like anywhere
right,
we
right,
go, the baby's got to be present.
right.
So it just made it tough to hang out and go places as it was. So that's what I didn't get, was that even though your mom made the statement of, "Oh, is this what you guys are gonna do every day from now on? It's just chill." I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, we could go do stuff too, but I mean, the way I saw it, which I guess the communication could have helped, was I don't have any restrictions. You do. So if
Mm.
you want to do something, let's go do it. But I don't want to make a suggestion. You're like, oh, well, I can't because I got the baby, or I won't have a babysitter. And it's like, okay, what's the point of
Mm.
me going through all this work trying to make plans for us when it can't happen because you got a kid?
Did you have that conversation?
That's
Was
what I'm
that like,
saying. We never had any
mm,
communication about that. It was really
right?
odd. I mean, the age difference didn't help, but
Mm.
I want to say it was like 9 years. It's a 9 year difference. Yeah, it kind of just happened, and yeah,
Should
that's
I be supervising you?
no, no.
Wait, was it the other way around?
What do you mean?
Who was older?
I was older,
Mm-mm,
or
your
am
brother.
older.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Ooh, girl, no.
What about bringing the kiddo with? That's the thing. Her child was not a great child. But what's up, Kira Walls? Um,
Maybe.
yeah, her child, she was adorable as hell, but she was very particular. The child was very particular.
Well, and that's a whole other, I mean, that's different too. That's like, if there's a kid involved, it's a different dynamic than just addressing like a relationship. But
Oh,
I think
that's what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's not just like you're being a toxic person, but I think you're right. I think that communication piece, and everybody, everybody says that communication is key. And it's like, okay, but what does that mean? Like, obviously, we know, especially now with technology, the way that it is, we suck at communication. Like, if somebody
Yeah.
texted me, like, what you doing? Like, first of all, ignoring you because I am a grown person and I'm not going to feed into that. Um, or somebody said, I think somebody, I I can't remember what it was. We won't get into it, but
Okay.
communication is one of the, I would say, one of the things that we're all really terrible at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you get really, really lucky and your parents have a great relationship and they openly communicate with each other in front of you while you're growing up, so you know what it's supposed to look like and then you can model that. But that's the thing, our relationship with our parents psychologically has a huge effect on how we navigate relationships for the rest of our lives,
Yeah.
uh, which is kind of unfair because if you have parents who don't have a healthy relationship and then you try to go get in a relationship, that's all you know. You don't know what to look for. And I personally struggle with that quite a bit because my parents are phenomenal parents. I mean, everybody that has me like on social media or knows me in real life knows that I adore both my parents very much. But I will always say that together, it just I don't I don't get it. And like to each is their own. Sure, sure.
Yeah.
I've stepped aside, but as I started therapy, I was just kind of talking about their dynamic and keep in mind like I never saw any like physical abuse, like none of that. Fortunately, nobody used drugs. No, nothing like crazy, but the way that they communicated or didn't when they had an issue was actually considered me growing up with domestic violence. And that was really hard for me to understand. And I just learned this not even a year ago. And I was like, what are you talking about? But
Mm-hmm.
it makes sense because emotional abuse, psychological abuse, those things are still abuse. And I'm not saying that anybody did it on purpose, right? I don't have like manipulative, like evil parents that want to hurt each other. I just think that there's a lot of unresolved trauma very far back in my family history. And especially for the demographic of my family, without getting too into the details, like it's very hard to even want to relate an issue you're having to your mental health because there's this massive stigma of like if you have mental health issues there's something wrong with you as a person
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to hey, because of the world we're growing up in, all of our mental health is kind of shit right now. Let's all work on it. It's not like that, and hopefully one day it will be. But that has made me a toxic person to where I had to relearn how to communicate, and I still practice all the time. And sometimes I do way too much. Earlier today, I just did way too much, and I was sitting there like, Jasmine, you need to calm down. Like people aren't like that. um, but I just like it. It makes me nervous. Like I know what I don't want to be because I grew up with it and I saw how much it hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it did fall on me every once in a while. Like again, I had a phenomenal childhood, wonderful parents, but their toxic behaviors are communication and actually addressing issues and disagreements in healthy ways. As well as just a lot of enabling. Um, so I just took that on. That was all I knew. So when I popped up in, college and started dating and all of that, it was just like, this is how I've seen communication. Like, I'm just gonna do it too, guys. Like,
Mm-hmm.
listen to me. You know what I mean? And again, the anxiety just made it so much worse. Like,
Yeah.
so, so much worse.
I
Because
bet.
when you have this like this much anxiety, like a Jasmine amount of anxiety, and you think about something and it concerns you, it's not like, you know what, I'm kind of worried about this happening. It's like my whole body is immediately on fire, and if I don't get somebody to fix it right now, I'm going to turn into ash and I'm just going to be Thanos away for the rest of my life. And I can't I can't handle it. It's so uncomfortable. It's so like physically painful almost. Like when you and I had our initial falling out, whatever.
Mm,
What I have severe abandonment issues. And so the situation on your end was more like, hey, I just need to respect my dad's wishes. Like, I'm gonna step back, whatever. And for me, it was like, oh my God, like somebody's leaving me. I wasn't ready to lose this connection. And I remember that night so vividly. This was like, what, no, it, over 10 years ago,
yeah.
for sure. And it's burned into my brain where I literally had physical pain in my chest the entire night because my anxiety is so bad, especially when abandonment in my eyes comes into the picture. It just like it hurts. And when I've had other breakups like early college years, I would literally have panic attacks and hyperventilate and just like I could not handle it.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord for anxiety meds because now I don't do that. Now I'm like, you're not good for me. No
I
tears,
need
no
some meds.
regrets, no regrets, no nothing. Just I'm out. But it's just crazy. It's ugh. But I want to kind of normalize toxicity again because we all have it. The important part is how you address it.
True.
That's my closing statement.
Thank you for the follow. Said, oh, that's Claudia. Thank you. Still gotta change your phone number. Put it to a username. But yeah, um, that was toxic behaviors. Now we got triggers.
Brought to you by Trader Joe's. Not really. That's the dream. Sponsor. Oh, triggers, triggers, triggers. So, I mean, immediately feeding into this, right, or like connected to what we just talked about for me,
Mm.
the perception that I'm being abandoned is a massive trigger. And so I guess like I just want to go ahead and define it because if you go on social media, it's like I'm triggered. This is triggering. Trigger, 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 blah, 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 blah. Psychologically speaking, very basic terms, a trigger is just some event or situation or perception or interaction that changes your mood. That's all it is. Now, when it comes to like a disorder or some diagnosis or mental illness, still don't like that phrase. Um, it's it's more related to something that increases your symptoms related to that diagnosis, right? So if you're diagnosed with anxiety, it's going to be some consistent event that leads to my symptoms increasing related to my anxiety or related to my ADHD or whatever other fun thing I have that's going it's hard. It's hard because they, number one, you can't control triggers. Number two, if you're really early in your mental health journey, you don't even know what they are.
Yeah.
So they just surprise you and you're just like having this super great time. And you don't know why or what happened, or and people are looking at you like, what's up with the mood swing? And you're like, I shit, if I know, guys. It just happened.
For
And
real.
and a lot of people use that like, oh my God, you're so moody. Like, oh, they're bipolar. I can't stand when people say that just because somebody changed their mood. Oh, you're bipolar. Like, first of all, you don't know what that means
Mm.
in real life, so shut up. And second of all, everybody gets triggered. You don't have to have a diagnosis of some sort. You don't have to have this clinical thing going on to be triggered. Like,
Yeah.
chances are if you walk outside and someone like kicks a puppy, you're going to be triggered and you go from chilling out to immediately angry and now we got to fight this whole guy.
Yeah.
Right? It's a
The
trigger.
thing
It
that gets
changes
me
your
is when
mood.
people expect you to fucking switch your mood right back. Like, nah, I'm already mad, bro. I'm not just gonna like No, it don't. It don't work like that. Not gonna be
It
all
doesn't.
smiley and cheery and shit after
And it's
something just
really
happened.
unfair to expect it to work like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you don't know the person and you don't know what's going on for them, or if you do know what's going on for them, and you're like, well, you know you have anxiety, so just calm down. Triggered. Now you gotta fight me too. Now I gotta fight the puppy guy and I gotta fight you. Like, why did you do this to me? My whole day is gonna be spent having like MMA rounds out in the street. We all gotta square up. Um, when there is a diagnosis brought into the picture, it can take a whole ass day for you to recover from that trigger.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, it just is. It is. And not all therapy fixes everything. It can teach you how to manage it when it happens, but it won't just get rid of the trigger. Especially for those of us that have gone through trauma and traumatic experiences, those triggers are ever present. And you learn how to cope with it. You learn how to calm down faster. You
Mm-hmm.
learn how to change your mood faster. And sometimes you can do it quickly enough that it doesn't even seem like your mood changed from the outside, but you still know that it did because your trigger is your trigger. It's like
Facts.
that's just it. Um, and the other thing too, and I was talking to someone about this a couple months ago because they were doing a podcast on like mindfulness and like how great yoga is and meditation. I love yoga, I do. It works for me. The thing I don't appreciate about some people in that like mindfulness and spiritual community is that there is this notion of toxic positivity, which is where I see your face, I'm gonna explain it.
Yeah, it
It's
sounds
where, okay,
contradictory.
so example, if you're okay with me like kind of disclosing a little bit
About
of what we talked about earlier. Just a smidge.
about us?
No, just you not being in the best like.
Oh yeah, I don't care. I mean, if no one's
Okay,
noticed it yet, I'm not in the fucking mood today, but I'm trying to be in the mood. Um,
he's doing so good.
yeah, I
So
woke up uh, just to
if
be
you're like, hey,
real quick. I woke up this morning. I had a weird ass dream, and it just put me in the weirdest mood. And I've just been like coasting throughout the whole day since I want to say like 10 a.m. this morning. Um, I can't explain it. By this time, I forgot what it was, but it just has me in like a whatever mood. Um, and then what I was telling her before we started was I really was in the mood, but getting ready for this was like when you wake up in the morning, you got to get ready for work. And it's like, fuck, I really don't feel like getting up. I really don't feel like dealing with anybody. I really don't feel like going to work today. That's kind of how I felt. But she told me, because the last podcast we had, I was kind of in the same mood, but it switched really quick. Um, but right now, it's still just chilling with me. So nobody said anything. I'm glad y'all haven't noticed. I guess I could put on a pretty good front. But yeah, go ahead and continue with what you were gonna say.
oh, you're doing great. Um, mm, so toxic positivity is an example would be when we came on, if you're like, hey, look, I'm just not feeling it today, like I'm not in the mood. I feel like ass, right? And I'm like,
Thanks, man.
you know what? Just focus on the positive. I used to do this to you all the time in high school. Oh my God. Just be positive. You're so negative. His nickname was Negative Nancy. Um, I was a dick. I just wouldn't understand it a lot. But it's like, not only am I dismissing how you feel by not even acknowledging it, but
Mm-hmm.
then there's this toxic positivity that's like, shh, just cover it up. Just focus on the positive. Like, yes, you can be happy. You just need to change your mindset. Like saying you're the problem for
Yeah.
your mood, right? So there's a lot of that in the mindfulness community where it's like, oh, you're having a shitty time. Oh, just focus on the positive, or just think of a reason to smile, or whatever, like I've been a little detached from the community, so I can't even remember half the stuff that I used to hear,
Mm-hmm.
especially my fellow yogis. Sometimes it's not helpful because you're not giving that person space to talk about what's making them upset. You're not acknowledging and accepting that they are upset. You're pretty much implying that, like, ooh, it's not okay for you to feel like that, and I don't want to talk about it. So if you could just fix it, that would
Pretty
be
much.
great.
That's
Here's how
exactly
you
how
fix
it sounds.
it. Yeah. And it just bothers me so much, and I didn't realize it until recently. Like, that is really toxic
Mm-hmm.
because not everybody has that ability. Like, if you're a little bit upset and you are kind of only focusing on the negative, but there's a bunch of positive things and you just like can't really get out of this little like funk, like, then, okay, go chill out, go think about something positive, and if that works for you, that's a great coping skill to have. Now, if you struggle with anxiety, depression, or you just are having a really terrible time because something really awful happened, like when my grandpa recently passed away, if somebody would have come up to me and been like, oh, just be grateful for the time you had with him, like, I am, but that doesn't fix the situation. Like,
Yeah.
let me
It
breathe,
still
bro.
happened.
And if you struggle with some kind of diagnosis, especially one that affects your mood, like, you don't always have a say in how long that emotion hangs out with you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's trying to hang out. It's getting comfy, putting its feet up, and you're like, "Can you leave?" And it's like, "Nah, son, I was here first." And you're like, "What?"
Get
And
used
somebody
to it.
coming up to you and being like, "All you need to do is focus on the positive." You're just like, you and your depression are looking at that person like, "You
Internal
serious?"
screaming.
um, it's right, and it just, I don't know, it's crazy. And a lot of these like toxic things that we do to each other are just taught to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't really think about it. It's like, oh, okay, cool. This person I look up to, this celebrity, this whoever says it works, so I'm gonna do that too. And especially if you don't have a lot of self-awareness, you're just gonna fling that all over the place.
Yeah.
Not even realizing, like, wait, this doesn't even actually work for me. Why am I telling everyone else to do it?
You froze in time. Had a pretty great picture too.
No. Oh yeah, I see it.
There we
Yes.
go.
Wow. There. Thank you. My God. Uh, so,
uh,
mm. Anyways, yes, triggers. That's a trigger for me, as you've noticed from the last like 10 minutes of me hating it. Oh, cool. I'm frozen again.
nice.
Awesome. I love this Wi-Fi.
It
It's
happened
wonderful.
again. Yeah, I can see it.
No, I
Screenshot it and send it to her later.
don't do it. I'm not. That's such a goofy face,
Uh,
bruh.
yeah, bad, big bad.
Did I? My
You're
God. You
still
know what?
frozen. You haven't came out of it yet.
Grounded, camera. You're grounded.
I
All
think
right,
it's your
let's try
Wi-Fi,
again.
if anything.
Hold up. It is
Oh, she's coming back.
9,000%.
Click, click.
My Wi-Fi.
Bam, bam. Okay.
It'll work. It'll work.
Yeah, you back. Triggers for me. That's still something I'm trying to get a hold of. Um, One thing for me is if something relates to my childhood that was in a negative way.
Mm,
Um, I don't want to get too into that. It's super personal. Um, or ignorance. Ignorance is a huge pet peeve. If I see someone being ignorant, that just changes my whole fucking mood. Especially if I'm talking to somebody and they're being ignorant. That could fuck up my whole day. Um, my issue with ignorant people is how can you not think about anything else outside of the bubble that you believe? I mean, no matter what it is. I mean, I don't want to get into it, but religion. There's different religions. These people believe that. These people believe that. But if you can't think outside the box, I'm not getting too deep into it. Would you have a quick say?
I do.
What's up?
Um, Also a trigger for me, yes. But what I did learn is that our brains are so cool that they are designed to only seek information that validates what we already believe,
Mm.
rather than seeking contradictory evidence to teach us something new. So you literally have to have, first of all, that knowledge, and
Mm.
second of all, the willpower and determination to contradict yourself. And it's an incredibly uncomfortable feeling, which is why it's so common for people to stay in their bubbles. It's a comfort zone.
Makes sense. But yeah, just using religion and stuff as an example. It's a pretty bad example. It's the first thing that came to mind. Um,
Good example.
when it just comes down to you believe something to be one way, but how can you not think of this other thing being a possibility? Um, it's just how do you not consider that? It's kind of like I don't know. Dodge cars are fucking fast, but for someone to be like, oh, Dodge cars are the fastest just because they have a Hellcat that pushes 797, there's German cars that go faster than that. They don't have that much horsepower, but they're more lightweight and they pick up faster. All wheel drive, twin turbo, you know what I'm saying? But some people are just so like, nah, Dodge is faster, Dodge is faster. It's that kind of shit that really grinds my gears. That shit pisses me off. You can't even consider. I'm heated about it just talking about it. You can't even consider something else. You're just so stuck on the fact that nah, this is it, and that's what bothers the fuck out of me. Cause me, like, I could think of something one way, but I'm open to think of how you think about it, and I'll be like, you know what? That's not a bad idea, or yeah, you're right compared to what I was thinking. That's another thing that I like about diversity. Um, when it comes to diversity, thinking one way isn't going to get you very far. If you pull in all these different perspectives, it's like, okay, let's combine it and make something that's even better. Um, it's a very vague explanation, but
Like Asian fusion restaurants, bro.
oh, you froze again. Screenshot at somebody. But yeah,
Don't leave
um,
me
we're
be.
gonna make that a thing. Every time your shit pauses, you're just gonna screenshot it.
I'm gonna give it a second to fix itself, and we'll see. I just look how intently I'm listening to you. I'm just so, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, but we're kind of designed to become complacent in a way because our brains don't function well addressing the unknown, right? And again, it's a biological system designed to protect us, to keep us safe, to ensure the future of our species, whatever. However, unlike other animals, we as humans have that self awareness that allows us to, first of all, understand that that's happening to us, and then develop the tools to address it. Um, this stupid frozen face is on my last nerve. But yeah, so again, we're designed for complacency. We're designed to seek comfort. We're designed to find some sort of routine and consistency to keep us stable so that we know what to expect, so that we're not addressing all of these stressors when we're coming face to face with the unknown. And a lot of people live perfectly fine like that. Um, what do you mean? Defend it.
And I think he means defending complacency because it is because we're engineered for that.
Let me just get my camera together.
Yeah. Second time in
Okay.
5 minutes.
Try this again. Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you're welcome,
Bruh.
man.
Um, I do and I don't. And I think that's what we're talking about. Diversity could mean a ton of different things. And for some people, they prefer a life that they're comfortable in, that they know what to expect. And for them, that's fine. If that's what makes you happy, go for it. Now, I have surrounded myself with the world's most stubborn and adaptive people, much like myself. And for us, complacency does not work. It's not okay. We're not comfortable with complacency. And I think that that's okay too. The same way that, like you mentioned earlier, for you, you want a more conservative, more traditional relationship. That works for you.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I would be miserable in a more conservative and traditional relationship because I'm not a conservative or traditional human being. And it's okay. Both of those things work. And, we
Oh
deserve to
shit.
seek those things.
Oh shit.
Wow.
Screenshot it third time within what?
Wow.
Oh, not even 10 minutes.
We're gonna have to do another video of just how my Wi-Fi got me fucked up. Like,
Oh
why today?
shit.
It's never been this terrible
It
before.
hasn't. Granted, we are what? Almost an hour in. Screenshot it. Yes, sir. Send it to the
Still,
Instagram. That's what she manages.
definitely on Instagram. Um, I'm just gonna leave it
Start a GoFundMe.
for my Wi-Fi. Help me get better Wi-Fi.
There we go. You're back.
Oh, thank God. My Wi-Fi was like, don't replace me, I'll work.
Doesn't everyone have some kind of routine? You mean like
Huh?
routine as far as what? Oh, you froze again.
That face looks like either I'm in pain or I'm gonna break into an Ariana Grande song.
You look more sad than anything.
Sad.
Oh my god.
No.
There you go. Some kind of routine. Um,
Yes. Yeah. We have work routines. We have morning routines.
like say
We
no.
have we have
Routine, like
evening
as far
routines.
as everyone has some kind of complacency. Yes,
Gym
I
routine.
believe it. Um, like tendencies, I think they do versus routine. Um, yeah, I think complacency kind of comes with the territory. I mean, there's times where you let yourself be complacent. Um, I guess you could count that as part of the routine. I
Oh, well,
mean, like when you're at work, you can't be complacent. But when you're at home, you can be.
I think individual habits are different than complacency. Like if you have behavioral habits, like for me, I gotta brush my teeth before I do anything else every single day. That's just me. I'm not gonna switch it up and be like, ooh, let me walk around with stank breath and go see how my day goes because I don't want to get complacent. Um, Jumping out of our comfort zone inherently causes anxiety. Our body does not like it. Again, so I think what we're kind of talking about is challenging our belief systems and traditions, the things that were handed down to us to figure out what works for us, and understanding other people's beliefs and traditions, but not necessarily that, like, I'm too comfortable in my house. Let me move across the country
Yeah.
just so I don't get complacent. Like, there's a line, obviously, unless you want to be full of anxiety, which we don't want that.
Mm-mm.
Speaking as someone who's full of anxiety
Yeah.
24/7.
It's a hell to the nah.
Hell to the no, to the no, no, no. Um, Triggered. Uh, yeah. So again, because our brains crave it, I would argue that some complacency, some routine, some of our natural habits are good for our mental health. I think it becomes toxic. Ooh, we tied everything together. When our beliefs are causing us to judge or harm or feel negative towards other people who don't have the same belief systems. Like if I just decided, hey, Deshaun, you know what? You want a conservative relationship and I don't agree with that. I hate you now. You're an idiot. Like that's when it's bad. But if it's just like you have your what you want, you have your goals, you have the right to pursue those things. I have
Mm-hmm.
different ones. I have the right to pursue those things. And we still love each other. Oh my God, look at that. That needs to apply to religion. That needs to apply to even eating habits. I'm vegan as hell. Um, but I can't stand when vegans are like, "Oh, meat is murder. How dare you? You're so gross. You're gonna die when you're 35 because you still drink milk." Like, is it
Mm-hmm.
nasty to me? Yes. Am I going to hate everybody ever
To the
who's not
presidential
vegan?
campaign.
They should have hired me.
Oh, facts.
Um,
What's up, Joel?
yeah. So, I mean, the difference is how are you going to treat people who aren't on the same page as you? Does your complacency cause you to prevent or damage or judge or hate another person or try and prevent their happiness? Like with all these dumb presidential campaigns, and everybody's like, the guy I'm voting for is the best, and you're so stupid if you vote for the other guy. Am I very opinionated politically? Yes, I am. Do I think that any of these people are great choices?
No comment.
Um, yeah, we're not getting into politics in this.
Edward knows what's up.
But it's just like we can't live in a world where it's like my belief is the right one and the rest of you are idiots.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that with religion, you see that with veganism, vegetarianism, you see that with politics. Can we block people?
No, that's the
I'm just
homie. You gotta block
I'm
him.
just kidding. Was the homie. Just kidding.
Mm.
Um, sorry guys. Yeah, no, I think that's the difference. And then again, like it's a privilege to be able to hear about other people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for those of us that grow up in big cities, we grow up around diversity, and so it's just kind of a part of our lives to get to hear the stories of other people. If we grow up in like a small town or in another country, we don't have that privilege.
Yeah, we
And we
don't.
also need to understand that not everybody has the exposure that we do. In, in California, especially in New York and Florida-ish, um, we're very privileged, and not everybody gets that. And so for us, it's like just meet other people, like listen to somebody else's story. What's wrong with you? How can you only think this way? But if you grew up in a town that's got like 100 people in it and everybody knows everybody, and you all come from the same like ethnic background, you all go to the same church, you like your whole life and you don't leave and you don't know what's out there. It's like the same way that Californians are kind of raised to think it's weird that there isn't diversity in other places.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you the same is true for them, where it's like, like that's kind of weird. What are they doing in California? Like, what the fuck? A lot of people don't like us,
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot going on. And so I consider it a privilege to have grown up with so many different friends from different racial backgrounds, different religious backgrounds, different ages, from different places that all ended up moving to the same place. You get to just talk to people and hear a lot of cool stuff, and it kind of expands your mind. But
Yeah.
again, if you don't have that exposure, especially early on to life, like in life, you're not going to know what you don't know. And it's not fair to really judge other people for that. Again, if they feel comfortable staying in a small town and they're perfectly happy being in an area that's quiet and they know everybody there and their family has run a business there for years and years and years and years and years. And I was like, why are you smiling? I hate it. My Wi-Fi sucks, guys. There we are. Heyo.
Yeah, we back. I don't want to cut you off, but we have like
Do
10 minutes left before you gotta go. I want to touch
it.
base on what Claudia mentioned. She said personal growth, I think, is what people miss a lot of the time, which is true. Like center growth comes from closed off mindsets and perspectives. Ignorance. Through knowledge of others walks paths of life. And some sort of understand. Not only do you grow to help others grow, in some sense too. Facts.
That's what I was talking about.
That's basically what we were saying is understanding where other people come from. It You grow as well as them once they also open up their minds to other possibilities of how things could be. Somebody
Right.
screenshot, please.
Don't, don't, don't do. Oh, my lantern. I hate it.
uh, don't
My
forget the
Wi-Fi.
Instagram that's tied to this podcast. She runs it, so whoever screenshots it, just send it to that Instagram.
Don't be You know what? Fine. I'll make a collage. It'll be cute. My mom will like it. She'll be like, "My God, my daughter's an idiot."
Until you get better internet, that's how it's gonna be.
But why does it hate me today?
That's what's up.
You and I are gonna
Is
have a
anybody else
conversation.
home or you by yourself?
My roommate's home,
That's probably why.
but she's not watching TV. She's cleaning her room. So like,
She's probably playing Spotify or playing music on YouTube or
okay,
something.
she's not. I can hear her. She's right outside. Her room is right there.
Oh, every single screenshot you laugh. Yeah, I know, because it looks funny as hell.
The disrespect.
She
Look,
looks
why
like.
am I asleep? You know what? I'm out.
I think the bandwidth kind of sus.
Just, yeah.
I mean, I'm fine.
I know you're fine. I'm gonna actually have a conversation this week and see if we can get an upgrade because I'm not trying to live this life any longer than I have to.
It's gonna be part of a meme, though.
I don't want to be. Um.
I guess we can finish this off with any questions.
Yeah. Anything else? Last minute comments, concerns, questions. Trader Joe's sponsorships.
They can't see it.
That's it. That's the face I'm ending on.
Great podcast as usual. Appreciate it,
Thank
fam.
you. That
You
one's
need to
kind of
get you a cable from the router and run it all the way to your room. Straight up, you do need an Ethernet cable. That's what I have.
Up
I
3
have
flights of stairs. Yeah.
Zero
Let me do
issues.
that real quick.
Pineapple on pizza. No. No.
Warm fruit. Mm-mm.
No. Yeah, that's basically it. Warm
Hot,
fruit
yeah.
and sweetness with the. Nah.
Like, why don't you just microwave orange juice if that's what you want?
It's
And put
fucking
some cheese in it.
disgusting. Most growth you've ever experienced. I would have to say it comes in spurts, and I call them epiphanies. At that point, you wrong. Everybody's got their own opinion, yo. I mean, I've had pineapple on pizza. It's just not my type of deal. It don't taste good. I don't even like pineapple as it is. But I've had it. But that goes to show you can't be ignorant to other possibilities. You gotta open up that brain. I like it too. Man, both of y'all weird.
Everybody get out. No, I'm just kidding.
All three of y'all.
Yeah.
But most growth I've ever experienced, it's hard for me to pinpoint anything in particular. But there have been points in my life to where I've
Your mom.
I don't know, I guess kind of opened up my eyes and was like, whatever it is that I'm doing, whatever it is that I've done, is not cool and I need to change. And that happens every once in a while. It's not an everyday thing or something like that. Uncultured swine. Bruh, I fucking told you, I've tried it before. It does not taste good.
As long as you try it and then you decide you don't like it,
That's
that's
what I'm
perfectly
saying.
fine.
Like,
No, that's what I'm saying. I got you.
yeah.
You ain't coming for us in this chat. For me, yes. I think honestly, the most growth that I've experienced at any one time has been the last 2 months. I decided that because I'm a therapist working with such a sensitive and easily influenced population, I really needed to go get my mental health checked out by another professional and really just understand what's going on for me. Maybe there would have been nothing there. Maybe there's a whole bunch of stuff there. It's the latter. Um, but I didn't want to project that onto any of the kids I work with because that's not fair to them. They don't
Yeah.
deserve that. So in these last few months, especially, I've learned so much about myself that even though I have 2 degrees in the subject and a bunch of state certifications and a million trainings under my belt, and I still never would have really known what was going on for me, not because I don't understand what I've learned, but because we don't see ourselves from the outside. And that goes with my post from earlier. I screenshot that one. It's cute, whatever. Yeah, so I mean, it's been hard. It's been very hard. First of all, being a therapist and being like, let me go to therapy. It's common and should be required, in my opinion. Um, but it is very hard to say, hey, I have all this knowledge, but still something's like going on for me. Like if you're a heart surgeon, you're not going to cut your own chest open and be like, I got this. You have to go to somebody else who can see you from the outside. The same thing is true for mental health. You have to go to somebody else who can see you from an outside, unbiased perspective and can really let you know, hey, this is what I'm noticing. So for me, unfortunately, and full self-disclosure, the diagnoses that I have could be addressed a little bit by like having all these coping skills and tools and all the stuff I did learn in school and all the stuff that I've naturally been drawn to, like yoga and cleaning up my diet and all those things. But some of it couldn't, because the things that have led to my diagnoses, one I was born with, and the other one developed so early on that my brain literally does not know any better. And my brain physically formed to what I was going through. And so
Oh,
now
never
that
mind.
it's done developing, it just functions that way. And I can't change it because our brains finish developing in our mid 20s and I'm like a little bit past that age. So I had to take medication. And it was a lot of trial and error. And it just sometimes your brain chemistry is not your friend. It happens. And I was one of the people that it happened to. And since I figured that piece out and I have a great team around me, bruh, an ugly one. Um, Anyways, it's cleared up my head and now my symptoms are out of the way and I can really focus on what I know and who I am and who I want to be and just feeling comfortable. And that has been huge, huge for me because it's been so long that I haven't had that privilege. And now, like, I have it before I'm in my 30s, and it's just such a blessing to me. Um, so, really, these last couple months have just been absolutely life changing, and I am entirely grateful for the team I have because they gave me my life back, where anxiety is not making my decisions for me, and fear is not making my decisions for me because I couldn't figure it out on my own. And that's okay. So, that's my long winded answer. And the sexiest face you've ever seen. Look at that. I
But you're
look
right, Edward.
like,
Every pro has a trainer. She bad. Every
oh, thank
pro
God.
does have a trainer.
Yeah, bodybuilders too. They gotta have personal trainers because they can't always push themselves.
You facts. But I guess we'll go ahead and end the stream here. She's got some things to do. Um, we are live every Friday, sometime Saturday if it's necessary.
Sometimes Saturday. It was necessary.
But it's every Friday at 7 Pacific time, depending on
Yeah.
where you guys are watching from. But yeah, we will catch you guys next Friday. Um, I'm not sure what the topic's gonna be yet, but we'll figure something out. Oh,
I
froze
know.
again. What?
We are going to spend a whole wonderful episode addressing substance use.
Oh, that's right. That is right.
Another big topic.
Yes, I'm recently sober. and I'm not gonna lie, it's been fucking hard, but it's gonna be fun to talk about.
Did I freeze again?
Yeah, you paused again.
Yeah. So, and I'll be posting reminders on Instagram. I will be posting clips from this episode for anybody who couldn't tune in, just to share little clips of what we're talking about. And then we are working on the YouTube channel as well.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for popping in. We love you.
I appreciate you guys. Hopefully we see you guys next week on Friday.
Don't send me these screenshots.
Please do. Don't forget.
Please don't.
There you go. You're back just in time.
Yay!
Adios, people.